Sukhasana, for instance, because Sukhasana causes us to, some people at least, to, no, you gotta go, to, there's a down dog for you, to slump, all right? And it's kind of like, I think, Harriet mentioned at one time that it's difficult sometimes to do that staff pose. No, I think it was Sherry, maybe, Sherry or Harriet. So I talked about using the wall for that. But again, if you just lifted up your hips some, it might be able to assist you more in getting into that position. So the other thing that is really, really a lot more accessible is a blanket to sit upon, and maybe, you know, double it up a little bit more. This is a quadruple fold, I think, and sit upon that. And that's going to maybe just be enough to lift you up a bit. The other thing is to sit on a block. And if you sit on a block and it's a little uncomfortable again because we have our bony protrusions there, then you can cover that block with a blanket. All right, I just want you guys to know that you have all of these things that are accessible to you. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to go ahead and sit on my block. And again, that block has 3 heights. And you can sit on it whichever way feels most comfortable. And you don't have to, I just want to demonstrate this. And I'm gonna go ahead and sit in Sukhasana, all right? So what has that allowed me to do? It allows me to lift my hips up and my knees can maybe spread open a little bit more, getting a little bit more of a rotation, external rotation out of my hips, all right? It also helps to support the whole spine a little bit more so that I'm not getting this tendency to pull in because my core might not be engaged enough. So let's go ahead and sit in Sukhasana. Sukhasana, AKA easy pose. And it's not so easy for all of us to do this. If you're seated in a chair, you can just sit with your feet on the ground and your legs just kind of, your feet just crossed at the ankles, and that will give you some opening in your hips, okay? So let's work on stacking that vertebral column all the way up through your cervical spine. So you have this really nice elongated spine. You're feeling that your shoulders are wanting to kind of come up sometimes, so let's let them come down as we kind of pull them down, all right? So see what I'm doing? Pull them down. I'm using the muscles in my back to contract and to leave the shoulders down away from my ears. As I do that, I'm also going to feel this puffing out in my chest area. And I don't mean extreme, so that I open up that lumbar spine more, okay? I still want to stay pretty stacked and pretty straight there. I'm going to open up my hands, and I'm going to open up my fingers, because I'm going to just be really pretty active today, all right? And very receptive to what's going on. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and take my chin towards my chest, relaxing the back side of my neck. That could be an exhale there. I'm going to lift my chin and take a look upward on an inhale, opening up that throat chakra, feeling a release there, being able to communicate better today, coming back into neutral, and with an exhale, taking my chin towards my chest. And just feeling that radiating out through my trapezius muscle. Keep lifting on an inhale. Transitioning into that exhale as you come down. Keep going. I want you to focus on your breath right now. Trying to maintain that in and out through your nose. But I also want you to focus on what you're sensing. What's the sensation here? And listening to your body. And is it saying, wow, that feels really good, and I like having my head hanging there. I might just keep it there for a couple breaths. That's entirely up to you. And pay attention to the chin lift. Is that feeling good? You don't want to go in too deep of a compression in the back of your neck if that does not feel right for you. Okay. So let's do a few more of these with breath. Exhaling as I take chin to chest. Inhaling as they come up. Taking a gander at my posture. And making sure that I'm staying nice and straight and strong through my core to stay lifted, that my shoulders haven't creeped up to my ears again. Noticing if you're able to open up a little bit more just because of the repetition, not because of forcing. If you're able to come chin to chest a little bit closer, again through repetition, through lengthening in your muscles here, and from gravity. Let's do 2 more sets here. And bringing our chin back into center. I'm going to take my legs, whether you're in that chair or you're sitting in Sukhasana here, and I'm going to switch out which leg was in front. Ankles are crossed, right? And from here, now I'm going to turn my palms down, and I want to shift my body, just my body from the waist up, okay? And you can notice this kind of isolation movement here, feeling it in your obliques, feeling it in your core, feeling it in your chest, feeling it in your ribs. And we're keeping this part of our body just moving along the horizon right now, okay? Just straight left and straight right. And remembering that we're breathing. You can hold onto your knees if that helps with some leverage there. Now let's take it with breath. So we're going to slow it down, all right? I'm going to inhale to my left and slide across on my exhale to my right. So the first that we did was a little faster and just to kind of warm up, right? Here we're coming more into that slower pace where we may get a little deeper into the muscle fibers, okay? And we're focused on our breath too. And we're going to acknowledge what's going on in our body by sensing. Two more sets, please. I may have done 3. Hard for me to count sometimes. All right, let's go ahead and take our hands down to the side. See if we have a dog in the way, what might be there. And let's take and leave our right hand down or whichever one, lift the other one up. And let's just stretch it up. We're not going to turn over to the lateral side right now, but just pressing my fingertips into the ground as the other ones rise up. And I'm really feeling that opening all the way through my ribs cage there. So again, just lengthening upward and pressing down from the side. And take another full breath here. Inhale, lift one more time. Exhale, go ahead and take your arm down. Taking those fingers into your mat, lift the other one up on an inhale. Fingers just stay straight, okay? Just straight as our spine is right now. Fingers straight, arm straight, other arm is extended out, fingers on the ground, and just feeling like something's pulling up your hand there, right? Those little angels are reaching down and lifting up your hand. And the earth element is taking the other fingers into the ground and rooting. One more big breath here. Full breath. And one inhale. Exhale. Good. All right, now we're going to take our legs and bring them out a little bit more. And this is Tadasana. Tadasana is translated as star pose. So this is one form of Tadasana, making a diamond shape, right? Like a twinkling diamond star shape. And the other Tadasana is when we stand and we make our five-pointed star. So here we've extended now our legs out a little bit more, and we're going to move in and out of a twist. So I'm going to take my left hand to my right knee. My right hand comes behind me. Notice if you're on that block, you don't have much of your hand touching the ground as we normally would. Trying to straighten my shoulders so that they're even. And then I'm going to go ahead twisting from here on up, right? Coming up from my waist to my ribs to my chest. Let my head come back. Maybe hear a snap, crackle, pop. Really letting my fingers root down behind me to keep that spine straight, keeping my knees outward. And then bringing myself slowly back around. And here, let me lift up on an inhale. Exhale, I'm going to take my right hand to my left knee. Let my fingers come behind me, push down, lift up through the crown, and begin that slow twist, looking behind me. Pressing my feet together if you want a little more activation there in your legs. And releasing with gaze, shoulders, ribs, and the center of my body. We're going to do that one more time, right? So reaching, letting my hand come behind me, letting me lengthen up, and then taking the twist really slow. I always used to think that just needed to get into that twist right away. But really, when you take it slower again, you're going into more defining of the different muscles and the different aspects of your body that it takes to go into a twist. And the same thing, taking it out really slow. So my gaze comes around my shoulders, my ribs, my center, and I inhale. And then I begin to go around the back again. Exhale. And making that twist slow from the waist up, looking behind me. And to keep shoulders level. Still breathing in and out through my nose. And beginning that reverse rotation, coming back forward and releasing myself here. And now let's move with breath. I'm going to come down, slide down. Maybe I just reach my shins, my ankles, wherever. You can also do this seated. You can just take your feet together and slide down, or you're seated here, slide up, exhale down. You can let your head go if you want, and inhale up. Just being cautious that if you let your head drop, you don't feel dizzy, right, when you bring yourself up. Because again, we're going with breath, and these breaths should be slow, deep, elongated. And so we're not jerking anything. We're not letting our head come down really fast and then letting it jerk up, okay? And if any kind of dizziness is an issue for you, then just keep your head, all right, from bowing down. Everybody's moving at a different pace right now. You may be feeling this in your back all the way down into the lower spine as we forward fold. You may feel this a little more in the outside part of your hips. You might feel that using a block underneath you, really besides helping with your alignment and your posture, is assisting you to go deeper into some of the different movements that we're doing. Let's do 2 more, please. Exhaling as you come forward. Inhaling as you come up. And now exhale down, and either keeping your head neutral or let the chin come to the chest, and let's hang here for a few breaths. Again, focused on all those little fibers that are being ignited by holding into pose. Keep your attention on your core, those transverse abdominals that wrap around us, coming into our backs. Where's your navel? Can you bring it in a little deeper? 2 more big breaths here. On your next in-breath, lift your head back in alignment with your spine, and then slide your hands back. We'll do one more thing seated here, and then we'll start moving to hands and knees. Take your hands, both of them behind you. Let your fingers touch the ground. Maybe your whole palm touches the ground. So what we're going to do is we've just forward folded. And so now I'm going to let my chest come up. I might take my hands, palms down, and work my legs a little bit. And then just let my fingers or palms come in and root into the ground as my chest gets pulled up. That's heavenly angels just lifting up here. Getting a heart-to-heart hug with anyone or anything that's up there. Breathing. And then slowly lifting the head and lifting your whole body, bringing yourself back up. And then if you've been on that block, go ahead and release it. And I'm going to be showing you how to use the blocks in hands and knees, all right? And only, again, if it feels good for you. I'm going to show you several things here. So here's a way to use your blocks and just to raise yourself up a little bit more, okay? Because for some of us, it might be a little hard to do this, right? So blocks are really good, and we're going to use those today, but you don't need to, but I just want to show you. The other thing I want to show you is if you have some wrist issues, then take your blanket and fold it. Take your palm onto the blanket, and your fingers are on the ground, so you've got those wrists being more cushioned, okay, by doing that. So that's another thing that you can do. So if you have blocks, great. If not, you don't need them. We have all done our hands and knees before, but I just want to demonstrate. So for now, we're going to just do cat and cow. We're going to release our tailbone up, looking up, and then we're going to bring ourselves in, curl and tuck and lounge here. Keep going. And taking the time, maybe now or before, to just check in our alignment here too. Our knees under our hips, our wrists underneath our shoulders. Two more, please. And the other thing, did not mention, but I often use is a blanket underneath my knees. Okay, so, and now we're going to do that a little bit differently. We're going to come back on towards our heels, and we're going to curl into ourselves here. You're going to feel that with your hand pressing down into the mat or the blocks. Feel that radiating energy up through your arms, especially if you're really connecting, all right, with an isometric push into block or mat. And then I'm going to come up And I'm going to rise up into cow. Okay, so we'll do that, but with breath this time. So I'm going to exhale, curl, tuck, round. And I have my feet so that I'm on the balls of my feet, but you can also drop to the tops of your feet. Inhale, cat. Exhale. Now this is exhale, cat. Excuse me. And inhale, cow. And keep going. This rocking cat and cow just adds a little bit more dynamics to it. A little more coordination. 2 more, please. 2 more sets. Wobble, get out of the way. Wobble, come here, come here. And coming back into a neutral place here. Now let's take and do some hip circles. So let's take ourselves all the way around, okay? Crossing, maybe if you can, cross your heels. Taking your hips left and right. And again, because we're taking some time on our knees, that blanket underneath your knees could feel really, really good, all right? We're not about suffering here in our yoga practice, okay? There's enough of that out there. We don't need to add to it. Go ahead and go around. And again, one of the first yamas and niyamas is about ahimsa, and that's a practice of nonviolence, right? To ourselves, first and foremost, and to others. 2 more circles. Okay, now that was kind of moving our hips. Now I want you to take that into kind of full body movements. So we might be doing these figure 8s. You might just be taking whatever you need to get into a little more motion here. Right, I'm just kind of doing some sloppy figure 8s. And I'm going to reverse that. And I'm just swinging here, back and forth. Swinging my hips left and right. And then coming up. And you can use blocks still, or you can release from using blocks. So what we're going to do is just take some side stretches. So I'm just going to take my hands over to the left side, let my head come down. Maybe this would be a good place to put your forehead as you stretch into one side of your body, and just feel that lateral stretch. Breathe in and out of there. Should feel that all the way up into your armpits. And again, forehead can rest on the ground or on a block, or your hands can be elevated on those blocks as well. I encourage you to practice with your blocks so they become like second nature to you, and you're more apt to utilize them. They won't seem so foreign. And then go ahead and walk back into center, and then walk on over to the other side, taking yourself over as far as you can, using that block under your forehead or forehead to the ground. And that's just a better place to be, one place or the other, not just dangling there. Okay, so just try it, see what works for you. And no block, and you can't get your head there, then dangle. That's okay too. A couple more breaths here. And I'm going to walk myself forward, and I'm going to use those blocks again in front of me. I'm going to take my hands onto the blocks again, not necessary. I'm going to take my right leg back behind me, stretch it out there. So I have my body Nicely aligned here, knee and hip, back leg extended out. I'm gonna lift that right leg, that back leg up. I'm gonna flex into my toes there. I'm gonna lift my left arm up. I'm gonna stay in alignment with my long spine. And then I'm going to take my body over to the left. So my leg, my right leg reaches out to the right more, my left arm reaches to the left more. Take myself back in, kind of like a weather vane. And I'm gonna come over, this is a little more tricky. You've gotta balance a little bit more on one side than the other. Come back to center and go over to the other side again, like the wind is blowing you in that direction. Back into the center, a lot of core strength happening here. Coming back over, letting your back leg cross over your body, front arm crosses over. One more time each side. Keeping that back leg up, getting that into the gluteal muscle there. And if the side to side is a little bit difficult, my left hand's coming down, my right knee's coming down, then just stay in that pointer position. All right? Here, before we take the other side, I'm just going to do 2 sets of a regular cow and cat. Having just a transition here. Good. And I'm going to slide my opposite leg back. That's my left leg, my left foot back. And I want to have that really nice and solidly placed on the ground first, so that I know it's long, it's strong. I got from hip to foot in alignment there. I'm going to lift it up about to my hip level. I'm going to take my right arm up now into pointer. And you can stay right here and not go into weather vane. But if you like to take that weather vane, you start to cross, leg behind you, arm across you. Bring yourself back. Take yourself over. Bring yourself back in center. And again, that foot that's elongated. No, excuse me, the foot of the bent knee can either be on the ball of that foot, if that gives you more balance, or you can take it down to the top of your foot. Let's do one more set here. Or just stay in pointer. And coming back, let my knee come down. 2 sets, cat, cow. Coming in back to a neutral spine. I'm going to take my right foot in between my hands. Okay, my hands are still on blocks. And now, just to show you that you can use those different heights on the block, I'm going to take mine to the highest height. All right, and again, play with these, guys. There's benefit in doing that. And from here, I'm going to flatten the back foot, and I'm going to start to move forward. All right, with using the blocks, I can really open up my chest here, because I'm not leaning over so much. I'm gonna look up. Yes, my front knee has gone past the front ankle. Usually we don't do that, but we're doing it very controlled and purposefully. So this is opening up my left hip flexor here. It is extending into my ankle and opening up my Achilles tendon here. And then I'm going to come back into neutral. And then I'm going to come into this half split. Don't be afraid of that name. It's just what they call it. Monkey pose or something like that. So you can keep your foot that's front totally flat. And you may only go about this far. And wherever you are, if this is it, you can bend into your elbows and take your head towards your knee. Or you can just stay like this. Right? Other thing to do would be to come onto your heel of that front foot and come onto the heel of the back foot.
And this is only if your knees say yes. This is a lot on the knee to put all of your weight there. So please don't do it just to do it. Do it if it feels right. The purpose here is not to get that hip to the knee behind me. The purpose is to lengthen out this front leg. All right, so do that to wherever feels right for you. And now I'm bringing myself back up to neutral. So we've held that in each position. Now we're going to take it with our breath. So I'm going to come forward. I'm going to inhale, look, heart rises. I'm going to exhale, come on with a long front leg, maybe curl tuck into myself, not necessary. Inhale up, take myself back. Maybe just a straight spine instead of curling in on myself. And maybe here it's just a straight spine instead of lifting up. All right, you have all of these places on the spectrum to go to, okay? Find your place in the rainbow, all the beautiful colors that you can imagine. Bring those into your yoga practice. Each one has value, just like each note in music, even an instrument. Are you breathing? Are you breathing through your nose? Is your breath rhythmical? Two more, please. And taking yourself up, and let's bring that front foot back. And from here, before we go to the other side, let's just take a few hip circles, 2 in one direction, 2 in the other. And again, nice to have padded knees here today. And I'm going to take my left foot forward, and I'm still going to use blocks like this. Maybe I could go ahead and do them like this. Maybe this time I will, just to see the difference, because again, I'm playing with what works best for me. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and let my front knee come forward, and I'm going to try to get my hips in alignment, and I'm going to feel that, yes, on that front right hip flexor for me. And just let myself sink into this. Let my heart rise up. And so here with this level of the block, I don't get quite as much connection with my hand. So I'm going to put them back up here. So I feel like I can get deeper into my back bend, into my heart opener by having my hands lifted up. Okay? You can still have your hands on the ground. That's fine. Just see what is working for you and what tools you have available right now. Let yourself really release forward here. And then bringing yourself back into that more neutral place and releasing into a straight front leg. And maybe you stay right here. And maybe your knees really bent because you're real tight in the back of your leg, hamstring and calf. That's okay. That's your body. That's the beauty of it, right? That's the beauty of yoga, is that we can work with everybody's body. So your foot can stay flat, or you can come onto the heel, maybe letting your tailbone come back more. You can come all the way down onto your back heel if you want. You can let your head come down if you want, if that feels right. If you need a little bit more opening, okay? You find again where you are, what note you're going to play here. But before and above everything else, you're breathing. And switching yourself out from maybe one position to another. Seeing where that is. Like if I keep my foot flat, I'm going to feel that more in my shin, which will be really good to do these kinds of things if you're doing a lot of walking before or after, so that you can avoid shin splints. Again, trying to get my hips in alignment, bringing myself back up into that neutral place. And now let's take this flowing, okay? So come forward, bend into the knee, it passes the ankle, my heart lifts up, that's an inhale. Take myself back through neutral, let myself come back to wherever my front extended leg wants to, that's an exhale. Taking these in and out of my nose, taking it to where my body says it's safe to go. Where I'll know that I'll feel better after this. Not gonna end up with some type of injury. And little by little, that flexibility will augment into the backside of your legs. But if nothing else, you are breathing and moving in a very meditative way. Let's do 2 more sets. Coming back, let's take that front foot back and come onto knees again here. Let's remove blocks if you've been using them. I'm going to come onto my forearms here. And I'm going to maybe just keep my forearms so that they're parallel to one another. What's going to happen is that my elbows are going to want to spread because it's more difficult to keep the elbows in. So see if you're able to do that, okay? And then let's just do a little rocking here. I'm going to come back towards my heels and rock my weight forward. Try to touch my nose to the ground. Bring myself back. My breath takes me up on an inhale, takes me back on an exhale, forward on an inhale, down on the exhale. 2 more sets, please. Getting weight bearing for those arms. Really good for the thinning of bones. And then coming back here, let's go ahead and take and flip onto our backs, okay? So I'm gonna flip over on my back and I'm getting my knees bent and I'd like you to have a block available too, okay? So taking myself down little by little here, or coming onto my side and then finding my way down to the ground, reminding myself that it takes all the muscles of my body to lift myself off the ground and to take myself back down. So if you just want exercise in your day, then do that 10 times in a row or whatever that might be for you. And before we begin, let's just take each foot off the ground, kind of flip it up with rolling from the heel to the ball, heel to the ball, and just flip your foot up and down, getting a little exercise into your ankle by flipping it like that. And 1 more set. Good. And then from here, go ahead and take that block. And this is really helping us with our adductors here. We're going to take that block in between our thighs and find what's comfortable for you depending on the length of your femur, right? Whether you want to have it long or you want to have it long like that, or if you want to take it wider, okay? Or if you want to take it this way, that would be the other way to do it. There's so many options. So find that. Find your spine flat on the back of the mat. And let's just pick both of our feet up and let them come down. Both rise up, let them come down. Flip and down, flip and down. And as we do, squeeze that block. Feeling that here in your core. The core is composed of so many different muscles, so the different ways we move ourselves will be assisting different muscle groups. Let's do 2 more. Squeeze, squeeze. Good. And then finding yourself, let's go ahead and take our hands down towards our heels. And we're letting our lumbar spine, okay, that natural curve there, come into the ground. So by doing that, I'm kind of taking my navel down towards my spine. And I want to start to squeeze into that block. So that's why I want it to be comfortable for you. Don't have a block. You could use a cushion, anything that would resist. You could use a roll of toilet paper here. That works as well. And I'm going to squeeze and lift on an inhale. Squeeze and settle down on an exhale, vertebrae by vertebrae. All the way down, pressing into that lumbar spine, lifting, pressing down with feet, arms, shoulders, not my neck, coming on back down slowly. Take those, you guys, on your own breath. This is meditative breath work here. And movement, incorporating that. I inhale, lift. Squeeze maybe into my glutes, squeeze into my adductors there. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Two more, then hold up. Where is your weight pressing to the ground, not your neck, okay? Shoulders. Let's go ahead and squeeze into that block, taking everything into the center, squeezing, and you feel that in your glutes, right? Without even really tensing the glutes consciously. They are activating by that squeezing in to the block there. Maybe lifting our hips a little bit more, squeezing a little bit more. How about 2 more big full breaths here? On your next exhale, keep squeezing slowly. Slowly bring yourself down. And that feels good. Let's go ahead and take the knees in. Keep the block there. Take your arms around you wherever they may meet. And let's go ahead and help our legs squeeze into that block by hugging ourselves here. Squeezing legs, knees, quadriceps, thighs towards your chest and inward as well. Down and in, hugging all directions. And then releasing arms down. Let's go ahead and lift the legs up. And let's squeeze in this position with legs long here. And just squeezing in. I've got my feet flexed. Why don't you flex yours here for a bit? Couple more breaths here, squeezing. And point and squeeze. Are we squeezing and breathing? 2 more breaths. I'm shaking. Bend your knees. Woo. And let's remove that block. You say hallelujah. And let's take, we're going to use the block again in a more restful way, believe me. Let's go ahead and take those feet out to the edges of your mat and let your knees come inward. Let's rest here for a couple breaths. In this tented position, feet are flat, about mat's distance. You're feeling relief between your thighs from not having that block there. Your arms can be out, shoulder height, you can take them downward. You can feel that impression of that block still. 2 more breaths here. And let's add some movement by letting our knees come over to the right. Feel that in your hips. Feel what comes closer to the earth and what lifts away from the earth. But we're trying to keep our shoulders grounded. And then bring knees together again. And then let them drop to the other side. And maybe your head goes in the opposite direction of the knees. Take them up on an inhale. Let them fall over to one side. On an exhale. Continue, please. Using breath. Beautiful breaths. One more set here. Happy hips. Coming back into knees together. Let's walk our feet in and let's open up our knees and bring our feet in as close as we can or want into our hip area or pelvic region. And our knees are open, our legs are open, and our sides of our feet are on the ground in this butterfly position. And as I'm here, I can really feel my hip bones from the top, and I feel that space of my lumbar spine, okay? So because my hips are so open and pulling downward, I've got that open space, and that's okay. We want that right now. We just had it connected, and now we're going to open it. Take a couple breaths here. That's Baddha Konasana, reclined. Baddha Konasana. Next, inhale. Inhale your knees and legs together. And separate your feet again about hips distance. Take that block. And this is where comfort begins to come into using that block. And I'm going to take it right in this position here, okay? And right underneath my sacral area. You're going to know where that is. That's those fused bones there. And it's going to feel like heaven. Feels really good. You get your hips lifted. You can feel that it just releases the weight there that your hips take so much of. So take a little bit of experimenting with finding that block in the right place. You don't have a block, don't worry. Just be here with knees bent. Again, you could use a cushion, or you could use a couple blankets maybe, but that block is just so easy to just place there. Again, a roll of toilet paper would work really well too. And now from here, let's lift our legs up. So here's a good place that, if you have a chair, maybe you could be holding on to the legs of the chair, and the back of the chair is facing you, and you can just kind of rest your legs up against the back of that chair so that they have something to rest on. If you have a wall, you can do that. Or if you have this block underneath you, you're just letting the blood have a little bit of rest and circulation that's constantly working so hard. Letting it release a bit. Taking that into breath. I'm going to leave my left leg straight up. Let my right one come out. And I want to maybe point to flex a bit here. And or flex. And bringing up that right leg. And letting my left one come out with control. Okay, so we don't fall off our block. Or whatever we might be on, or just fall over to our sides and pointing flex here. For the obliques as well, as you're working on that in the core area. I'm going to lift that leg back up forward towards the ceiling. In here, let's just take some ankle rotations. I'm going to bend into my elbows and take some wrist rotations here. Settling down and settling in. And I'm going to reverse. Then we're going to do something to coordinate ourselves. We're going to take our wrists and our feet and we're going to go either clockwise or counterclockwise with all of them, okay? Generally, we go, one is going one way and one's going the other. So now we're following that same pattern and now let's take it around the other way. And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling this in my shins. And hands down, bend into your knees and just let them come and rest as they will towards your chest. We're not pulling them in. We still have our nice sacral support with that block if you're using it. So just kind of bringing them in. And now I'm going to let the left foot come down onto the ground. I'm going to interlace underneath my right kneecap. Now bring that right knee towards my right shoulder. Again, with the hips lifted up. Maybe if you've got that support underneath there. Just bringing it in. And releasing, letting that foot come down. Taking the left foot up. Bringing that knee in towards my left shoulder. Chin stays tucked. And releasing, bringing that down, taking that block out, coming over to my side into a fetal position here. Taking a couple breaths here, supporting my neck on my inner bicep, tricep area there, so that my neck doesn't go down and can stay in alignment right now with my spine. And I would begin to walk myself up and take myself onto hands and knees and come back into down dog. I know this is the end of class, but let's just lengthen our spine and lengthen the legs again. Feel ourselves in this restful place of down dog. Taking some deep, full, slow breaths here. Making this meditative as well. And beginning to walk my feet forward in the center of the mat. Bend into my knees. Walk my hands back towards my toes. Let my head hang and dangle. Lengthening legs only to the point that feels right for us. And we've done some leg lengthening. So maybe you're going to come a little bit out of that bend in the knees. And then taking arms out, slowly rising up, cautious with the head. And taking hands down into heart center. Finding yourself in Tadasana pose with Anjali Mudra, hands at your heart center here. And just taking a look down at our feet. holding our hands together. There's so much more I was going to show you today with the block, like doing our chair pose with that block here. We can do that next time. You can also use a pillow or not use anything. But anyways, thank you guys for being here today. I know we didn't spend a lot of time upright, but I'm hoping that you still felt like you got something good out of the class today. I'm always trying to try something a little different. So it'll ring well for some and not for others, but stay tuned. There's always something different the next round. So I honor that place in you where the beautiful universe dwells. I honor that place in me where that beautiful universe dwells as well. For when you are in that place in you, and I am in that place in me, we bring each other light, love, joy, and peace. From my heart to yours. Thank you for your ever presence. Namaste. Thank you, guys. Hope it worked out okay for you, and that you will walk straighter, stronger, more supportive today as you go through your day.
Thank you. It was not easy, but it felt good.
Wonderful. Thank